Since we were children, there has been a question that sounds like a joke, but hides one of humanity's oldest debates. Because if the chicken lays the egg, but the chicken comes from the egg, then where did it all begin? For thousands of years, this question had no clear answer. Before we uncover the answer, take a moment to subscribe. Because on this channel, we explore the questions that have puzzled humanity for centuries and reveal the science behind them. Now, let's begin. In the 4th century BC, the great philosopher Aristotle surrendered to this puzzle. He argued that there could not be a first egg to give birth to a bird, nor a first bird to lay an egg. Aristotle concluded it was an infinite sequence. He believed that both the bird and the egg must have existed forever, going backward in time with no true beginning. Charles Darwin proposed something revolutionary. Species were not fixed. They did not appear suddenly and remain unchanged forever. Instead, life slowly transformed. Tiny variations appeared in each generation. A slightly different beak, a different feather pattern, a slightly stronger bone. Over vast stretches of time, these small changes accumulated, and slowly, entirely new species emerged. If Darwin was correct, then the first chicken must have evolved from a bird that was almost, but not quite, a chicken. But Darwin lived before scientists understood the true mechanism behind these changes. That mechanism would only be discovered in the 20th century. Inside the cells of every living organism lies a remarkable molecula. Modern science finally uncovered the final piece of the puzzle. DNA is the genetic blueprint of life. It contains the instructions that determine how every organism grows, develops, and functions. Every feather, every bone, every cell is guided by information stored in DNA. When animals reproduce, they pass this genetic information to their offspring. But the copying process is not always perfect. Occasionally, a tiny change occurs, a mutation, a microscopic alteration in the DNA sequence. Most mutations do nothing. Some are harmful. But occasionally, a mutation creates a new trait. And this is the key to solving the ancient paradox. Because these genetic mutations do not occur in the fully formed parents. They occur during reproduction, inside the fertilized egg, inside the embryo that is developing within the shell, which means that at some point in evolutionary history, a bird that was almost a chicken laid an egg. To solve this riddle, we must first travel back in time. Millions of years ago, there were no chickens, not a single one on planet Earth. But there was an ancestor, a wild bird roaming the jungles of Southeast Asia, known as the red jungle fowl. Let's call it the proto-chicken. This bird looked like a chicken. It acted like a chicken. But genetically, it was fundamentally different from the birds we know today. You see, nature doesn't make sudden jumps. Evolution is a slow, relentless process, a game of tiny, almost invisible adjustments. Generation after generation, these proto-chickens survived, mated, and laid eggs. Each new bird was slightly different from its parents. Maybe a different feather color, maybe a slightly shorter beak. But here's the most crucial fact, the rule of biology that breaks the paradox. An animal cannot change its own species during its lifetime. A proto-chicken cannot suddenly become a modern chicken while walking through the jungle. The transformation, the mutation, has to happen before the creature is even born. The breakthrough happens at the microscopic level. Imagine two of these proto-chickens, a male and a female. They mate and pass their DNA to the next generation. But during this reproduction process, something incredible happens. A microscopic copying error, a genetic mutation. This mutation did not change the parents. They lived and died as wild jungle birds. The change happened exclusively inside the single cell, the zygote, that would become their offspring. That single mutated cell was the very first of a new species, the creature we now call the modern chicken. And where did that first true chicken grow? It grew inside a shell, an egg, laid by a bird. That was not a chicken. The verdict of modern science is final. The egg undeniably came first. That tiny copying error in the DNA, that microscopic mutation in the darkness of that first shell, is the exact same process that brought us here. It is the mechanism that created velociraptors, blue whales, and ourselves. Nature is not a perfect, unchanging machine. It is the result of billions of brilliant mistakes, genetic errors that ended up being masterpieces of survival and adaptation. For thousands of years, the brightest minds were paralyzed by the illusion of an infinite loop. We believed the origin was unreachable, but today we know that the origin of any great leap, of any new species, begins with a small, invisible change. The next time you see a simple egg, don't just think about your breakfast. You are looking at nature's most powerful engine, the time capsule of evolution itself. Knowledge works exactly the same way. Every new fact you discover, every why question you manage to answer, is a tiny mutation in your own mind. It makes you see the world in a completely new and more fascinating way. If you are passionate about discovering the hidden truth behind everyday mysteries, if your mind never stops asking questions, then you are already part of this community. Subscribe right now to Discovery Why, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next big experiment. And now I turn it over to you. Leave me a comment down below. What other great historical, scientific, or everyday mystery keeps you awake at night and you want us to investigate on the channel? I'll be reading. Hit the like button on this video to support science. Share it with that friend who still swears the chicken came first. And remember, never stop asking why. See you in the next discovery.